I have a warning for you, something terrible is happening on earth and all Christians will be affected. There is a frightening prophecy that is going to be fulfilled and we need to be ready. So in this video I will show you how there is an evil plan happening right under your nose that involves the rise of the Antichrist and persecution of all Christians. Stay with me until the end of this video and prepare yourself for what is to come. I guarantee that the information I will reveal will change your life, and those who ignore it will pay with their soul and be condemned to hell. Christians around the world are warned that the Antichrist will appear soon. He is described in a frightening way in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, as the first beast, coming from the sea. In the first verse of chapter 13, we read, "Then I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its heads, and on each head a blasphemous name." Here we see that this man of sin is like the personification of chaos and rebellion, shrouded in prophetic mystery. He's not just any guy, no, he's like a super powerful being, with 10 horns and 7 heads, symbolizing immense power and blasphemous authority, which, they say, comes directly from the devil, that ancient dragon, Satan. Can you imagine that, someone with the power and influence of the devil in flesh and bone walking the earth among us? See, this guy even receives a throne from the dragon and goes all out in blasphemy against God. It is said that he is fueled by the very gates of hell. The things he speaks are like a total challenge to the heavens, disrespecting God and everyone with him up there. And it's not just talk, he goes to war against the saints, those who represent truth amid darkness. He wants everyone to worship him, except for those whose names are written in the sacred book. And to mark those who are on his side, he devises a mark, like a tattoo, which is like a total control over who can buy and sell, similar to the first beast, coming from the sea. Imagine a mark that goes beyond simple economic dominion. It symbolizes a definitive separation from God. Visualize the whole world covered by its dark influence, while incredible deceptions divert people from the true faith, without exception. It seems everyone is blind to what really matters. Let's take a closer look at this mark. Now, think of this individual, known as the man of sin. He is creating a plan of epic proportions, casting a veil that obscures the very light of truth. He is the Antichrist, the supreme villain of history. And this is not a fairy tale, it is reality unfolding before us, as time moves relentlessly forward. He will be the worst of all time, a true Genghis Khan of the modern days. Remember Khan, a brilliant leader who left a trail of destruction in his path, causing the death of millions. Imagine, up to 10% of the world's population at that time. It's hard not to be shocked by the destructive power that a single individual can wield. Imagine a time in history, during the Roman Empire, when an emperor named Nero ruled with an iron fist. He became infamous for persecuting Christians and even for the fire that devastated Rome, claiming many lives. But even Nero, with all his cruelty, does not compare to what is described as the first beast in the book of Revelation. In this frightening story, Revelation 13 verses 14 to 18 takes us to a world where this beast dominates with its cunning and extraordinary powers. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, says the verse. It commands the creation of a statue that looks like itself, even after having suffered a fatal blow and survived. This statue comes to life and demands worship, threatening to take the lives of those who refuse to do so. Remember that worship, pride, and arrogance are traits that define the devil. In Isaiah 14 verses 13 to 14 there is a perfect description of the nature of this evil being. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens, I will raise my throne above the stars of God, I will sit enthroned on the mount of assembly, on the utmost heights of Mount Zaphon. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds, I will make myself like the Most High. In this passage, The ambition to be like the Most High reflects Satan's desire to receive the same worship and reverence that are due only to God. This passage shows a clear desire to ascend to a position of supremacy, which implies receiving worship and honor that belong exclusively to God. And the Antichrist will do the same. He will demand worship and will persecute those who refuse to follow him. But how will he know who is following him or not? Well, that's where the most mysterious and sinister element comes in, the mark of the beast. It's like an identification, a mark on the right hand or on the forehead. Without this mark, you are excluded from the economic system, unable to buy or sell anything. This biblical passage ends with a riddle about the number of the beast, 666, which represents an element of identification. Now, bringing this story into today's world, we all live in an era of smartphones and smart devices. But this convenience comes at a cost. Many apps are constantly listening through the microphones of our devices, recording our conversations and calls. This constant surveillance raises serious questions about privacy and even about freedom. Imagine this scene: you and your spouse are at home, discussing the need to buy a new mattress. You talk about it just once, without researching or typing anything into your electronic devices. However, in the following days, you both start to notice something strange. Ads for mattresses pop up everywhere, on your devices, social media, emails, and even on the websites you visit. It seems like the online universe is listening to your most private conversations. And it doesn't stop there. You decide to take a closer look at the functionalities of your car, a relatively new model. To your surprise, you find out that it keeps a detailed record of every trip you make, where you go, how long you stay at each place, and even where you park. It's as if your own vehicle is watching you. These experiences make us reflect on what else technology is capable of. It's not hard to imagine how these tools could be used by a powerful and sinister entity, like the Antichrist. The tracking and surveillance power already available today is impressive. Surveillance cameras are in every corner, watching our movements in real time. And with the advancement of facial recognition technology, our identity can be easily traced, linking our movements to detailed digital profiles. This story makes us question to what extent we are willing to give up our privacy in exchange for convenience and security. And it reminds us to remain vigilant in the face of technological advancement, ensuring that our rights and freedoms are not compromised in the process. Imagine yourself in a world where every aspect of your life is digitized. Every step you take, every word you say, everything leaves a digital trace. And this trace can not only be monitored and analyzed but also controlled. Now, add to this the Internet of Things, where practically every device around you is connected to the Internet. Whether it's the smart thermostat in your home or the health monitoring device on your wrist, all of them are constantly collecting data about you. This data is incredibly valuable. It can be used to create detailed profiles of who you are, what you do, and even what you are likely to do in the future. And, most alarmingly, this information can be used to influence your decisions, often without you even realizing it. Furthermore, digital currency and cashless transactions are becoming the norm. With this, every purchase you make, every financial transaction you conduct, is recorded and tracked. All of this eerily aligns with ancient prophecies that mention a mark without which you cannot buy or sell. And this infrastructure is already here, integrated into digital payment platforms and cryptocurrency networks that span the globe. To complicate matters further, artificial intelligence is being used to analyze this data on a massive scale, identifying patterns and predicting behaviors. And what's more disturbing, it is being used to influence people's behavior on a large scale, manipulating perceptions and controlling narratives. It's as if we are living in a massive game of manipulation, where our lives are being shaped by invisible and powerful forces. And the question that remains is, to what extent are we willing to allow this to continue? Currently, there is intense debate about how we use technology ethically. This debate illustrates how fine the line is between technological benefits and the risk of negative uses. In 2 Corinthians 2 verse 11, Paul issues a warning to Christians saying, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices." Here Paul is alerting us to be aware of the devil's schemes, one of which is the temptation to sin. Satan is often portrayed as a tempter, seeking to exploit human weaknesses to induce sin. Certainly, the Antichrist will use this strategy by promising a perfect life where everything is permitted, where all the pleasures of the flesh are allowed and influenced. It is a life where man forgets his inner conscience, what is right and what is wrong, and lives merely as an animal, like a beast akin to the devil. Another scheme of the devil is doubt and disbelief, which involves instigating doubts about the faith, the truthfulness of the Bible, and the goodness of God. This is a very important point because many Christians ignore what is written in the Bible and claim that it is just a theory and should not be taken seriously. I earnestly ask you not to be one of those Christians. If it is in the Bible, it is because it is an important message that should indeed be studied, analyzed, and taken seriously. Pay attention so as not to end up sinning through ignorance. Before we continue, please like and subscribe to the channel if you are a faithful Christian committed to seeking the teachings of Jesus. Moreover, there is a particular concern about the idea that we already possess the infrastructure for something that could be considered an evil system. For example, in the book of Revelation in the Bible, specifically in chapter 13, verse 18, it is mentioned that 666 is the number associated with a man. This reference is important because it helps us understand that the Antichrist is described as a real person, not just a symbolic figure. He is known as the beast that comes from the sea, which gives us clues about his nature and origin. Although he is a human being, he is seen by God as a beast, meaning someone completely under the influence of Satan. This use of symbolism serves to highlight his evilness and his opposition to divine principles. The Antichrist, mentioned in the Bible, is indeed a person. He does not represent an angel, a system, a government, or any other abstract entity. It is important to understand this because the Bible speaks directly about a human individual. In the Bible, this man is symbolically called the beast of the sea. This metaphor describes his characteristics and origins in a very expressive way, showing that, despite being human, he has a quite negative and dangerous character. This Antichrist, according to the biblical narrative, receives powers from Satan, who in the Bible is often described as a being of great influence and authority over the earthly world. This reflects the belief that, although Satan may exercise a certain temporary dominion, he is fundamentally an adversary in the grand scheme of spiritual matters. In 2 Corinthians 4 verse 4, we can see a warning about the influence of Satan, where the following is written in the Bible, "In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them." Imagine someone trying to block the sunlight with an umbrella because they don't want you to feel the heat and see the brightness of the sun. In the verse from 2 Corinthians 4 verse 4, the Bible mentions someone called the God of this age, which is actually a way to refer to Satan, who attempts to do something similar. He tries to block the bright light of something very good called the gospel, which tells all the incredible things about Jesus, so that people who still don't believe in him can't see how wonderful he is. In 1 John 8 verse 44, we also see a warning written by John that defines Satan as the father of lies. Here is what it says. "You belong to your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies." In Ephesians 2 verse 2, Satan is also mentioned as the prince of the power of the air, indicating that he has an influence over the sinners of this world. In this verse it is written, "Wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience." The Bible also tells us that, in the future, Satan will give his special powers to two very bad people, the Antichrist and the false prophet. They are described not as ordinary people, but as monsters or beasts controlled by Satan. The false prophet acts as a promoter of the Antichrist, working alongside him to deceive and lead people astray. The main goal of the false prophet is to elevate the figure of the Antichrist, promoting him as an admirable and powerful leader who deserves worship and loyalty. To achieve this, he performs impressive but completely deceptive signs and miracles. These miracles are cunning tricks designed to convince the masses of the supposed divinity of the Antichrist, leading them to believe in his false promises. In addition to his supernatural tricks, the false prophet is tasked with establishing a global system of worship for the Antichrist. He goes so far as to create an image of the Antichrist that appears to be alive, capable of moving and speaking, further persuading people around the world to worship this figure as if it were a god. The term false prophet is used to describe him because, although he presents himself as a religious or spiritual leader, he is the opposite of that in every sense. His intentions are deceitful, and his actions are designed to divert people from the true spiritual path. He does not seek to enlighten and guide people to the truth, but rather to divert them from it, in favor of false worship. The impact of the false prophet on the world is profoundly negative. He creates great spiritual confusion and convinces many people to follow a path that not only distances them from God but leads them directly to destruction. He is a crucial instrument in the evil plan to deceive humanity during the most turbulent times described in Revelation. Notice how everything is interconnected with Satan's evil plan to divert as many Christians as possible. However, despite being a frightening plan that instills fear, at the end of times, everyone will be judged to see whether they followed good or evil. But the Antichrist and the false prophet will not undergo this judgment. They already have a certain fate. They will be thrown directly into a place called the lake of fire, where they will remain forever. Even Satan will end up in this lake of fire, being punished eternally for the bad things he has done. This shows that bad actions have serious consequences, and reinforces the idea that choosing good is very important. In 2 Corinthians 5 verse 10 it is written, "For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that every one may receive the things done in his body, according to that he hath done, whether it be good or bad." The emphasis here is on the actions carried out in the body, that is, during earthly life. The verse reinforces the idea that all our actions have eternal consequences. The good or evil done will directly influence what each one will receive at judgment. This is not just a judgment of condemnation, but a judgment to compensate or correct based on each person's actions. Revelation 20 verse 12 also describes how the judgment will occur. "And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works." Here, the scene is set at the great white throne, where the dead of all times are resurrected for judgment. The opening of the books symbolizes the revelation of each person's actions, recorded throughout their lives. The Book of Life contains the names of those who are saved and have eternal life with God. The judgment is based on people's works, or actions, and determines their final destiny, whether salvation or condemnation. In both cases, the message is clear: actions on earth have eternal implications, and a record of these actions is kept for the day of judgment. Thank you very much for watching the video to the end. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Stay with God, until the next video.